This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Electronics were among the most requested gifts of the 2011 Christmas holiday season in the United States. Jim Barry from the Consumer Electronics Association says tablet computers were the most popular electronic gift. Laptop computers were second. Jim Barry says the iPad continued to lead the way in the tablet market. Apple released its iPad 2 in March. The company is expected to release the iPad 3 in 2012. Tablet computers are the top of the list of what folks said they were going to buy this year. And probably north of 80% of the tablets being sold up until now have been Apple iPads. But he says the tablet market is starting to change. There are now more choices and less costly tablets available. These include the new Kindle Fire from Amazon.com. Jim Barry says e-readers were number 3 on his group's survey of holiday gift wishes, and that came as a surprise to more than a few people. Some folks thought that the popularity and success of the tablet computer would mean sales of e-book readers would go down. Well, that hasn't happened. Sales of e-book readers have more than doubled this year. We're buying lots more. The leaders there continue to be the Kindle from Amazon and the Nook from Barnes & Noble, along with the e-reader from Sony. Amazon released its Kindle Fire just in time for Christmas. The new Kindle is a touchscreen tablet. Unlike the earlier e-reader, this one is in color and lets users explore the web. The Kindle Fire sells for $199. This is several $100s less than the iPad, but about the same as people paid for the Kindle 3G wireless in 2010. So the big question on a lot of people's minds in 2011 was whether or not to wait for the price to come down. As Jim Barry put it, this is the challenge of the early adopter. You know, one of the great things about consumer electronics is that the prices get lower as the stuff gets better. And that's not true of automobiles or furniture or houses and so forth. So as the prices get lower, if you bought earlier, you may feel a little bit of that, well, I wish I had waited. He says falling prices are one of the reasons why consumer electronics do relatively well, even in a difficult economy. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Learn English and much more with our programs, lessons, and activities at voaspecialenglish.com and the VOA Learning English page on Facebook.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Samsung Electronics won a case in its battle with the American technology company Apple over property rights. A court in Japan ruled in a case involving Samsung's Galaxy series of smartphones and tablet computers. A 3-judge panel in Tokyo said the products did not violate an Apple patent for organizing music and video on several devices. The court also ordered Apple to pay all legal costs related to the case. A patent is a property right given by a government. It keeps others from making, using, or selling an invention without the permission of the patent owner. But the case in Japan is just one of many in the worldwide legal battle between Apple and Samsung. In August, a jury in California found Samsung guilty of willfully violating several of Apple's patents. The jury ordered the South Korean company to pay Apple more than $1 billion. The patents include so-called utility patents for Apple's pinch to zoom and tap to zoom technology. They let users change the way things appear on the screen of their device. Included are design patents on the look and shape of the iPhone. Madhavi Sunder is a law professor at the University of California, Davis. She has also written a book called From Goods to a Good Life: Intellectual Property and Global Justice. She says issues involving design patents are complex. Madhavi Sunder says patents are meant to increase competition and support design and development. She sees a problem with Apple trying to say its designs are something only one company can have. She adds, it raises the real question of whether or not we should be protecting designs with patents in the first place. Madhavi Sunder says Apple built its computer company using the same methods that it is now opposing. Apple appears to be saying that no one else can use its methods. Madhavi Sunder says this goes to the heart of what innovation is about. Samsung said the California court's decision, in its words, should not be viewed as a win for Apple, but as a loss for American consumers. And the company told its employees that it would continue to fight until its arguments are accepted. But the dispute is far from over. On the day of the California ruling, a court in South Korea ruled that Apple and Samsung had violated each other's patents. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. The Ford Motor Company built several versions of the Edsel from 1958 to 1960. Ford ended production of the car after just 3 model years because of weak sales. The Edsel has been described as a colossal failure. That is what the name has even come to mean in popular language. But the Edsel has also been described as a car ahead of its time. John Heitman is a history professor at the University of Dayton in Ohio and vice president of the Society for Automotive Historians. He says, it was a car that was controversial in styling. Its horseshoe-shaped grille is still remembered today. The Edsel is kind of the example of the car that never caught on. Professor Heitman says the biggest problem was that the Edsel arrived around the same time as a recession. He says Americans were beginning to question their values. It's a really curious kind of economic episode. It was actually quite severe, but also rather short. But it was at a time when many Americans were reacting to the dinosaur in the driveway. These very heavy chrome-laden Buicks and other cars, the 58 Buick, had 58 pounds of chrome on it. The Edsel was also a very heavy, very fuel-inefficient vehicle. Even so, Some people say the Edsel's technology more than made up for what it lacked in looks and fuel efficiency. Shamrock Shelley Cleaver is the Public Relations Director for the Edsel Owners Club in the United States. Mr. Cleaver has been a member of the club since it formed in 1969. He says the Edsel was the most modern car of its time. For example, he says it was the first Ford product to have self-adjusting brakes, but he liked one feature especially. The 58 Edsel had 5 buttons in the center of the steering wheel to shift the gears. That way, you could shift the gears with your left hand and keep your arm around your girlfriend or your wife, whatever, and keep on driving. Shamrock Shelley Cleaver made good use of that feature when he got married in 1958. He went on his honeymoon in an Edsel, with one arm on the wheel and the other around his new wife. The Edsel was named for Edsel Ford, the only child of company founder Henry Ford. Edsel was president of Ford Motor Company until he died in 1943. Today, the cars are considered collector's items. They can cost anywhere from hundreds of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report in Special English. Attacks on computer systems are a growing concern among United States lawmakers. Recently, the head of a congressional committee warned about the threat of cyber attacks from China, Iran, and other countries. Congressman Michael McCall is chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the House of Representatives. He compared the threat from cyber attacks to the terrorist threat faced by the United States on September 11th, 2001. But he said that this time the nation knows about the threat and is taking action. Other lawmakers expressed concern about reports that China is to blame for most attacks against American computer networks. Recently, President Obama told ABC News that there has been a steady increase in the threat to cybersecurity from other nations and from criminals. He said the United States has taken part in what he called tough talk with China and other nations. China's foreign ministry has said the country is open to talks, but it said China is itself a victim of attacks and not responsible for computer crimes. In February, President Obama signed an executive order on cybersecurity. The order directs American agencies to improve information sharing on cyber threats. A Senate bill on cybersecurity last year failed to get enough votes to pass. Some business groups and privacy rights activists expressed opposition to the measure. Now, a new cybersecurity bill has been introduced in the House of Representatives. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.